When I pulled into my driveway that afternoon, the first thing I noticed was the bright orange sticker slapped across my front door. Community violation notice, immediate attention required. I hadn't even cut the ignition before a woman in a pressed blazer and sunglasses marched up my walkway like she owned the place. "Mr. Jensen," she said, voice clipped, lips painted with the kind of smile that wasn't really a smile. "You're not in compliance." I stared at her. "Excuse me? I'm Meredith Klein, president of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association. You failed to submit your landscaping plan before installing that tool shed." I glanced at the shed I'd built last weekend behind my garage, tucked where no one could see unless they were snooping. This property was never part of an HOA. I checked before buying. Title is clear. Her smile didn't waver. "Oh, honey, you'll find everyone says that at first. Yet the incorporation happened in 2020. I'll bring the documents tomorrow." She walked off like it was settled, leaving me rooted in my yard, heart hammering. Something about the certainty in her voice, the way she said everyone, set every nerve buzzing. For the next few weeks, she was everywhere. Friendly at first, showing up with muffins, offering contractor recommendations, casually asking about my work. She seemed to know exactly when my truck wouldn't start or when I got home late from a job. At first, it felt like small-town neighborliness. But then I realized she was showing up at moments she couldn't possibly know about unless she was watching. I should have seen the signs earlier. The first real blow came in the mail, a formal-looking invoice demanding $2,450 in community fees, with late penalties if not paid within 10 days. The letterhead looked official, embossed with seals and signatures, but when I called the county office, they confirmed no such HOA existed. That's when I understood. She was running a scam. I wasn't the first target. My neighbor across the street, Old Man Carver, cornered me one night when I was hauling groceries in. His hands shook as he lit a cigarette. "Watch yourself," he muttered. "Meredith's got files on everybody. She makes things up, pressures you till you break. I tried to fight it. Cost me my retirement savings." He wouldn't say more, just shuffled back into his house, blinds snapping shut behind him. 2 weeks later, my electrical contractor's license was suspended pending investigation. A state official mailed me photographs of botched breaker boxes supposedly installed by me. Except I'd never touched those jobs. Someone had fabricated the evidence, and I didn't need to guess who. Without my license, every job site shut down. My income vanished overnight. Meredith dropped by the next morning with coffee. "Such a shame," she said sweetly, sliding papers across my kitchen table. There are always opportunities to move on. Investors I know specialize in helping families transition out of burdensome properties. It wasn't an offer. It was a threat. That night, while digging through the garage for spare parts, I found a battered lockbox shoved behind paint cans. The previous owner, an old rancher named Paul Stanton, must have left it behind. Inside were photographs, Meredith prowling his yard at night, going through his mailbox, snapping pictures of his workshop. There were recordings, too, her voice sharp and cold, warning him about consequences if he didn't fall in line. Paul's note was taped to the lid. "If she comes for you, don't trust a word. She's ruined families before. Evidence in here is all I managed to gather. Use it." My stomach knotted as I realized she'd been perfecting this game for years. I started documenting everything: cameras around the property, recordings of our conversations. At first, she seemed unfazed, still bringing casseroles, still acting like my best friend. But then I noticed footprints in my garden where no one should have been. Tools shifted in my shed. Mail opened before I touched it. She wasn't just harassing me. She was watching me watch her. One night, I caught my next-door neighbor, Linda, fumbling with a tiny camera aimed at my driveway. She froze like a kid caught stealing candy. "Please don't tell her," she begged. "She knows about my husband's medical debt. Said if I didn't help, she'd report us for zoning violations." That's when it hit me. Meredith wasn't working alone. She was using the whole neighborhood. Blackmail, secrets, quiet threats, they were her currency. I rallied what courage I had left and quietly approached a few other neighbors. Slowly, terrified whispers turned into confessions. She had something on all of them: immigration papers, bankruptcies, failing kids at school. Piece by piece, we realized we were living in her cage, dancing to her rules. For 2 weeks, we collected evidence together: hidden recordings, fraudulent invoices, even testimony from a contractor she paid to inflate repair estimates. We had enough to bury her. Or so I thought. She struck back faster than I imagined. One morning, my wife, Emily, came home from her nursing shift with red eyes. "Meredith stopped by the hospital," she said. "She told me you're dangerous, that you've been hiding things from me. She said you need help before you hurt yourself or me." I felt the floor drop out. Emily and I had 8 years of marriage built on trust, and Meredith was prying at the cracks with surgical precision. "She's lying," I insisted, showing her the files from Paul's lockbox. But Emily's face was pale, uncertain. "Maybe you're just obsessed with her," she whispered. "Maybe she's right." That broke something in me. Still, I kept gathering evidence. I had no choice. Meredith was stacking liens against my property, $35,000 in violations that didn't exist. The timeline gave me 60 days before the county could authorize seizure. My back was against the wall. When I tried to rally my alliance again, Meredith ripped them apart one by one. Anonymous letters, subtle threats, rumors. Fear spread like wildfire. Soon no one would even look me in the eye. I was alone. And then, Emily collapsed during a night shift. Panic attack, shortness of breath, convinced she was losing her mind. At the hospital the next day, she clutched my hand. "It's her," she whispered. "She's been twisting everything." I recorded one of our talks without realizing it. Listen. On her phone, Meredith's voice oozed through the speaker. Calm, careful, planting seeds of doubt. Classic gaslighting, every word engineered to make Emily distrust me. For the first time in weeks, Emily's eyes cleared. "She thinks I'm still under her spell," she said. "We can use that." Emily kept attending Meredith's support groups for neighborhood wives, secretly recording. What she captured was chilling. Meredith coaching women on how to protect themselves from supposedly unstable husbands, all while weaving in lies and half-truths about me. It wasn't just harassment. It was psychological warfare. The final straw came when Meredith called an emergency HOA meeting. She framed it as a discussion about unstable residents threatening property values. Everyone knew she meant me. I almost didn't go. But Emily squeezed my hand. "We have the truth. This is our moment." The community hall was packed, every neighbor crammed into folding chairs. Meredith stood at the podium in her tailored blazer, charts and graphs behind her. She spoke about safety, stability, the need for decisive action. "Certain individuals," she said, eyes drilling into me, "have undermined the integrity of our neighborhood. Tonight, we must decide how to protect ourselves." I stood. My legs shook, but my voice carried. "Before you listen to another word, hear this." Emily pressed play on her phone. Meredith's voice filled the room. Calculated gaslighting, veiled threats, manipulating families. Gasps rippled across the crowd. Then I laid out the fraudulent invoices, the contractor kickbacks, the fake liens. Neighbors leaned forward, faces blanching as they saw their own names in the documents. Finally, a man in a gray suit rose from the back. "I'm Daniel Ross, county real estate attorney. I've reviewed these records. There is no legally incorporated HOA here. What this woman has done is fraud, and it's criminal." Meredith's mask cracked. Her voice rose, shrill and unsteady. "You don't understand. I built this community without me. It's chaos." Her polished exterior shattered. She ranted about order, perfection, control, her hands clawing the air, hair falling from its neat bun. Then she jabbed a finger at me, shrieking so loud the microphone screeched, "Get out! Get out of this land! You're not even in my HOA and you ruined everything." Neighbors recoiled. Phones whipped out, recording. Her breakdown spiraled into incoherent screaming about perfect lawns and obedient families until sheriff's deputies stepped forward, cuffs clinking. Even then, as they dragged her away, she twisted to glare at me. Her eyes were wild, but beneath the madness I saw something worse. A promise. The fallout was swift. Fraudulent liens dissolved. My license reinstated with an official apology. Meredith and her contractor faced charges for conspiracy and harassment. The neighborhood, freed from her grip, began to heal. For the first time, people talked to each other without fear. Helped because they wanted to, not because they were told. Emily and I are still piecing ourselves back together. She apologizes often for doubting me, but I know how sharp Meredith's hooks were. She didn't just trick Emily, she fooled an entire community. Sometimes at night, I sit on my porch, listening to the quiet hum of crickets. The house feels like mine again, But I can't forget her final words or the look in her eyes as they led her away. Because control was never just her obsession, it was her identity. And people like that don't let go easily.